Hello, welcome back to Paranormal Insights. I'm your host, William Becker, and today we have Kent Rasmussen with us. We're going to do a bit of an interview. Kent is part of the behind-the-scenes brains of the show, and he's also with Paranormal, or Salem Paranormal. I'll get the words out here yet. So welcome, Kent. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. How did you get involved in the paranormal?
It started when I was a kid. I had some experiences of family members coming to visit me. When I was about 8 years old, I was at my aunt's house, which was a century-old farm, and I was sleeping in the east bedroom. The way they set their house up is there was an east, a west, a north, a south bedroom, so there was like perfect compass.
Cool.
And I woke up about 2:30 in the morning to go to the restroom, and when I woke up and opened my eyes, standing over the top of me was this woman in a black, I'd say 1900 style dress, and she was just kind of stroking my hair.
Oh, that's sweet.
She didn't say anything to me. She was just kind of looking at me and kind of stroking my hair. So I didn't think anything of it. Got up, went downstairs, went to the restroom, came back up, went back to sleep. Woke up in the morning and I told my great aunt about it, and she asked me to describe her, so I did. She actually pulled out a picture out of a photo album. It was her grandmother that had come to visit me, and then, when I was 10, my grandma died, and I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to her, so I'm kind of looking for that chance to talk to her again. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what drives me, is I still have yet to find her.
Okay.
So, and I'm hoping that one day I will actually be able to.
Mm. That makes a lot of sense. Now, you've been working with the investigation side for quite a while too now.
Yep, 11 years.
Okay. How did you get started in the investigation piece?
I was actually sitting at home watching a ghost show. Well, and I just decided that I was going to call up my brother and just be like, I'm going to go out and try this. Do you want to go? And he was like, yeah. So we weren't even in the cemetery 10 minutes, and we had a little voice recorder. That's all we had. Mm-hmm. And we did a quick recording of what I saw on TV. We played it back, and clear as day, we got a little girl's voice saying, "Help me, Daddy." And from there, it was just like we got bit by the bug, and it was on. I mean, we never looked back.
Fantastic. Now, what's your philosophy? I've got several different questions. I want to ask you different areas, and we don't have a lot of time, so excuse me jumping around.
No, that's fine.
But what is the philosophy you have as far as research techniques and such when you're doing the investigations? And I'm talking about equipment, science versus the body experience, personal experience, psychic experiences, all of that.
So the research techniques that I use, and again, all of us in the group have our own tasks, but mm-hmm. I go mainly for the house, the land, the history. I'm really good at finding that information. Mm-hmm. I'll go as far as going to the Historical Society, the archives, and I just start digging and finding as much as I can about the plot. I mean, that's the big one. And then, we go in to talk to the client. And with me, I kind of have that an ability, but I haven't really tapped into it. I can walk into a place and sense, like my skin just starts to crawl. Mm-hmm. And I kind of use that as my gauge on how bad the house really is. Equipment-wise, I have a hard time with equipment because equipment is man-made, which means mm-hmm. it can be tampered with.
Okay.
One investigation that sticks out in my mind, we actually used a set of dowsing rods, which, for those that don't know, dowsing rods were used to locate water back in the days. Mm-hmm. And I have a hard time with that because if you hold them the right way, they'll kind of do whatever you want them to do. But I also believe that if you're focusing all your energy out of your mind on getting an answer, your mind can alter it.
Subconsciously move them.
Right.
Or even just with them, they move so easily mm-hmm. that the slightest tilt or
Yeah.
muscle spasm can create a reaction. I know people that use them seemingly successfully, but I've had the same concern.
And then you also got the magnetic ley lines in the earth. You know, there's just too many variables for me to believe in dowsing rods.
Okay.
But I like to stick with digital cameras, 35 millimeter film, and voice recorders.
35 millimeter film. Excellent. You don't hear of people using that much anymore. Why do you like to use it?
Digital cameras, for instance, it's a trick photography. You can very easily manipulate anything out of a picture that's digital. Like, we could take a picture right now of that wall, and the way the light is hitting it, you could see a face, something like that. Whereas 35 millimeter, it's an imprint. And if something's going to show up, it's printed. The camera prints it into that film. So I always go with 35 millimeter.
Okay.
I mean, and I know it's a dying breed, but I like using that better.
Okay, that's good to hear. I like film. I don't shoot it much anymore, but I like it. And one of the things I've heard too is you don't get with film all the false orbs and everything that you can. Now, and you know, I'm asking these questions, I'm not telling.
Yeah.
But I've heard that the DSLs, the good DSLs, don't get very many because the optics and everything are so much better, and the electronics.
Right.
But the point and shoots get far more of them, and then the cell phones even more,
Yeah.
where it's camera malfunction or just the nature of the lens or dust or whatever. So does that make sense?
It does, and you know, I'll kind of go along with what you said. The more expensive the camera, the higher the processor in it. So of course it's going to eliminate that little dust particle, where a cell phone doesn't have that processor.
Right.
You know, it has just what it's built to do. Our phones are not meant for cameras. They're not they're meant to talk, text, and do stuff basic. But when you start using them on a paranormal investigation side, people start picking up orbs, and then they're like, oh wow, that's what this is. And well, that's a whole other subject when I get into orbs.
We'll have a different interview about that one.
Yeah.
One of the things that we were talking about the other day, and I don't want to bring up anything too personal, but you really do have a lot of sensitivity. And what kinds of things do you do in more of the psychic realm? What kinds of activity do you pick up on? What kinds of feelings or knowledge or visions, that kind of thing?
I'd have to say the ones that I pick up the most on are the sorrow. I pick up, I wouldn't say I'm psychic. I'm more of the empath, where I pick up on the feelings. I've even been on investigations where I pick up the anger, the hate, you know. I've picked up on a couple of spirits at a local cemetery that are really, really mad because they're stuck there. But I can also see where they are, and you know, and that's a strong point for our group. Is we'll walk into a house or a business or a cemetery, and the people in the group look to me to kind of point them in the right direction.
Right.
There's been one case, for instance, we walked into a cemetery, and I don't know what it was, but there was this massive creature. I wouldn't say it was human. He just was, I couldn't even tell what he was. He was just black. And you could see the wisping on the side of him.
Okay.
So
physically you could see this.
I could physically see this, and I told a couple of the members, I was like, I wouldn't go back there because he does not look happy. And a couple of them did, and on the way out, they actually got pushed to the ground. But I couldn't see that it was by him. But, you know, if something is that massive, I would imagine he's probably got quite a bit of energy.
Could be. And they were definitely pushed. They didn't trip or slide or something.
No, and
like
actually,
that.
somewhere I actually have the picture because one of them said his back was burning.
Okay.
And we lifted up his shirt, and you could see the handprint, which, for a spirit to be able to, in my opinion, for something to leave that kind of, you know, double handprint on your back, it's got some force behind it.
Right.
And I don't necessarily believe that spirits can hurt you unless you ask for it. I mean, if you're being rude and disrespectful to them, they're gonna teach you a lesson.
They can.
They respond to a much higher power than you do.
And, you know, I think most of them don't have the energy to do much. But some of them possibly can, and some of them also might be able to work with our minds in such a way that we do something, that we trip or that we slide or we lose attention or whatever it is.
You know, and I mean, I've even talked to a couple people during the courses of doing all the investigations that believe, and I have to believe it too, that they, you know, you'll be sitting there doing a voice recording and nothing about my person has changed, but I'm kind of like off in another world.
Right.
You know, but to anybody else in the room, I look like I'm just sitting there. And I've had out of body experiences before.
Okay.
I don't like them because I like being at home. It's really trippy for me because I haven't, like I said, I haven't tapped into it yet. I want to, but I'm also afraid of what I'm going to learn.
Right.
You know, that's a touchy subject.
You don't go down the road unless you are willing to learn what's out there.
Right.
And I can vouch that it's really fascinating. It's interesting and it's healthy, I think. We'll work on it. Now, when you do the out of body, how does that happen? Is it when you're asleep? Is it when you're sitting around driving down the street?
It's when I'm asleep.
Okay.
And I kind of go into what it almost appears like I cross the veil.
Okay.
Where it's kind of foggy looking. I see things moving around. I see our world, but it's like I'm looking at it through a fog. And it lasts 30 seconds to a minute. And
Okay.
I remember it. That's the part that I know that it's not like a dream or, you know, whatever, but I can describe in detail what I see.
Fascinating.
I've also been driving like, I was 17, going to Seattle for a concert. And out of nowhere, I'm driving up I-5 towards Portland. And I wasn't driving, I was in the back seat, and I told the driver to slow down. He was like, why? And I was like, because there's about to be a wreck in front of you. And sure enough, about half mile up, 3 cars collided. I get those little flashes, you know, in front of my eyes, and people look at me like I'm crazy. But it's just a gift that I have. And I'm still working on fine-tuning it.
That's fantastic. Can I get the lottery numbers from you?
I wish, because we'd be playing the same numbers and we'd split it.
That sounds
So, but yeah, that's kind of what I experience.
good. Okay. Now, do you do much in your dreams other than occasionally astral project?
Visions, big time.
Okay.
Good, bad, indifferent. I wouldn't say that in my one. I know for a fact in one of my visions, and I was talking to you about this a couple days ago. I wouldn't say that I would give it a title, but it almost appeared to be hell. There was hellfire, brimstone, screaming people, me being pinned, like physically stopped, and I watched my family be destroyed. And it scares me because, you know, like most people, your family is your world.
Right.
And it almost seems like my subconscious is trying to trigger, like trying to get me to see something that I'm not quite comprehending yet. That hasn't happened to me probably in about 6 months now. So
Okay.
I think whatever was going on at that time in my life is actually gone, and
Good.
so it's not triggering it. My visions have been pretty happy lately.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Well, I want to thank you. We're going to take a little bit of a break here, and stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hello. Welcome back. Kent Rasmussen is my guest this evening, and he just gave me a really great interview, and now we're going to do a bit of a reading. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What are the specifics? What are you looking for?
I kind of just want to know, I mean, I get the sense that something's following me. I'm not sure what. I know past years I've been visited by deceased family members, and I kind of want to know if they're just hanging around or if they kind of just pop in when they want.
Okay. Just from my own experience, there's often a little bit of both, depending on who it is. But let's see. There's a woman. Oh, she's a little mad at me in a sense, but she's laughing because I want to say it's more like a caricature. but that's how I see sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
She's jolly. She's got plump cheeks and kind of. She's older, and the face is sagged a little bit, but is beautiful with the light from within her, and just laughing her head off. Um, see, hair is kind of wavy, brownish, kind of your color. Showing at different times. Part of its time it's really gray. Part of the time it isn't. Seems like it's kind of down like that and then back. She may have worn it in like a ponytail sometimes, which is interesting. Dress. Fairly, it's a flowered print dress, fairly simple. There's land with hills, green, lots of trees, and an older house, not a real big one. Right now I'm not seeing a lot of paint on it. It looks pretty brown. The name Ruth popped into my head. And sometimes I'm really good with names. Sometimes I'm close, but don't quite get the sound quite right. And sometimes I'm zillions of miles off. So take it for what it's worth. And she's laughing because she likes to come around you and watch but tease a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe a little bit on the back of the head, or tucking a tag in on a shirt, or blowing on the neck a little bit, just a little something to let you know she's there. Does that sound familiar at all, or does that sound like anybody?
It sounds a lot like my mom's biological mom, which passed away when my mom was 14 months old.
Okay.
So it was 1965.
Okay.
Obviously, I would have never known her, but you described her almost to the T.
Okay.
And in fact, I actually think that's what she was buried in the floral dress.
Okay.
So it's interesting. Her name is Georgia.
Okay.
But, I'm sure there's a Ruth somewhere in there.
Yeah, there could be, and it could just be that that's the way it came. Good, I'm glad that sounds like her. And she's been around watching you grow up.
Okay.
And has helped. Okay. Was there a bully in school at 3rd grade?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm getting the name Ken or Kenny, which again, me and names, take it for what it's worth. She helped that end somehow. It's like almost like somebody got tripped.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out what she did to him. She's laughing. The principal found out about him, I believe, from her. She's the one that helped that kind of thing happen and kept you from getting hurt worse, is what I'm showing from her.
Okay.
Does that fit reality?
Kind of does, actually. I mean, there was a bully. And it's funny that you said it because his middle name was Kenny.
Okay. Good. Then actually I got one.
I stood up to him. I mean, I've always been a big kid,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't really start affecting until about 5th grade. So I was kind of literally a little guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt this wind come over me, and then I just kind of like stood up and kind of puffed up a little bit, and he took off running, and he actually about 100 feet away tripped over his own feet and face planted, or what looked like his own feet. But that's interesting that she tripped him.
Yeah, and I think that was her that was helping you puff up too.
And then he actually got suspended the next day for
Okay.
messing with me. So
Good, good. So she's been around helping you and protecting you for a long time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what else that she has. It seems like there was a fight as an adult. Something kind of sudden. This is a weird question, or feeling, but I see her helping you or somebody punch somebody in the face.
Yeah, that happened a couple years ago, actually.
Okay.
It was a situation that should have never happened, but out of nowhere, this guy went to go punch me. And when, for some reason, I'm not a fighter.
No, that's why it was hard to ask that question. It doesn't make sense.
But he hit me like right here on the jawline, kind of like an open fist almost. And my head turned, and by the time I came back around, his head was bouncing off the wall from my fist. And then he tried to grab me, and all I did was just push, and he literally flew 10 feet. And I was kind of amazed at my own strength, but this was literally about 5 years ago.
Well, you had two things going, grandma and adrenaline.
Hey, you know.
Yeah. No, she was, she's protecting her baby.
That's good.
And let me see if I can come up with something. Okay, there's a past life. It's farming, rolling hills, gentle. So not the flattest part of the Midwest, but I think a sod hut. Early pioneers in the Midwestern times, a lot of times they were building sod huts, dig down, and they helped with weather, and there wasn't any wood. And okay, what was the relationship here? I'm thinking mother and son. Yeah, I'm thinking mother and son. There's somebody else that was the father. Oh. Arlen's coming to my mind. I'm not quite sure, but if he's listening to this now, he's another person that's heavily involved with the show. Could be. Well, he looks like him in this, so I'll have to do more with that. But he's the one. If it isn't him, it's somebody like him or connected somehow. There's a connection with that.
Okay.
So, yeah. Arlen may have been your father. Oh, stepfather.
That's weird.
Yeah, stepfather. Okay. But it was good. Lutherans keeps coming up to me. You were Lutherans, which I'm thinking, okay, Norwegian came. And so at least in that life. And 1830s perhaps, 1840s, which would actually be pretty early for homesteading in that part. But it was good. I mean, you had some cattle and some horses. It was a pretty successful homestead, and you guys did pretty well. And I see you in a suit going away to college on a train. Or at least higher education, but probably a college as a young man. So you guys really did well with that one. So that's interesting. And with trains, I'm not sure when trains would have been out. So I know they didn't come out. Well, we had them out here long before we had the Transcontinental Railroad.
Right.
But but also this was something like 20 years after, so I guess it fits. And by that point, you guys had a nice. Ooh, it was a wooden house, which again is kind of unusual. Brick would have been cheaper.
Yeah.
So,
Well off.
You did well. Mm-hmm. Cool.
That's
George.
interesting.
I think that was your name.
That's weird.
Well, especially since her name's Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's interesting how that works. I love her. I really love her. She's just loves to laugh.
Most of the people in my family have been jolly. They've
Mhm.
been quite the gigglers. So
Mm-hmm. See if there's anything else she wants. She's showing me books, studying, learning, something about training, about school. It doesn't feel. Come on. I'm not sure that it doesn't necessarily feel like a 4-year a 4-year degree to go and get, because you've got one, don't you?
I don't. I'm working on one.
Okay. Oh. Okay, well, maybe that's what it is. Hurry up.
I'm working on it. The one I'm working on is a little difficult.
Well, she's going to kick your butt.
Yeah.
That's her words, not mine. Because what she's saying is you can do it, there's no question. Organize your time better or differently. Not better, she says organize your time differently, and you can make those pieces work in. And you might even be able to get some help financially, financial aid, which could also take away from workloads.
Okay.
And some of what you're doing here can actually help with your classwork or with your credits. Does that make sense?
I'm gonna have to look into that now.
Yeah, and I don't know what you're studying. I don't know what you're working on, but that's what I'm getting from it.
Okay.
If any of that makes sense. And there's a boat. It looks like a big rowboat with a mast in the center.
Okay.
Does that ring any bells?
Actually, it does. Here on the Oregon coast, there's a shipwrecked boat called the Brother Jonathan.
Okay.
That was my family that wrecked that boat on the Oregon coast.
Ah.
They were coming over from, they were actually like trying to go from Astoria down here, and they ended up shipwrecking about what is now Garibaldi.
Okay.
So, and you to this day, you can actually go there, and the boat still sticks out, and it says Jonathan right there on the side of it. My uncle or my cousin actually painted a portrait of it.
Okay.
So.
Excellent. And so this is like a family yacht or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Not a commercial ship?
No.
Okay. That must be it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. And there's a hesitancy to go sailing.
Well,
somewhere.
yeah. When my family shipwrecks, I don't want to go out. No.
Yeah, okay.
And I actually get seasick in the ocean.
Oh, okay.
Me
Yeah,
and Mother
'cause
Nature don't
she's-
get along.
That's great. Well, we're running a little over. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
I'm glad that some of this rang true and hit for you. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Next week, we're going to be on a location. I'll be doing some reading. And we look forward to seeing you then. Take care.